I am a shell of my former self.
I am a shell.
My consciousness is part of a cybernetic network, no longer human.
What is human?
Merely a copy of a copy of a copy
of a copy.
I've lived 1,000 lives.
What is life?
But I still don't know the answer to the most important question.
The most important question.
What color is this? Is it yellow or is it green?
Yellow.
And it can't be both. Marathon is the new extraction shooter from Bungie, the creators of Destiny, the original Halo, and the creators of the original Marathon. Yeah, Marathon is not a new IP. It's actually the original Bungie game, released all the way back in 1994. I wasn't even born yet, and a lot of you guys would call me old, so this is old. In the original Marathon, you played as a security guard aboard the UESC Marathon, which is a large colony ship traveling the Tau Ceti system, and your job was to protect the ship from different aliens as you traveled through space, which eventually spawned a few sequels. So you might think that the new Marathon would just be a modern update to that game, and even match its gritty space aesthetic. Nope. This Marathon took a wildly different approach. In this game, you play as a runner, which is a human who traded their physical body for an artificial body called a shell. These shells can be destroyed and rebuilt, but at a cost, which means that all of the runners canonically are in a ton of debt to the shell company Sakaguchi Genetics. You're basically an indentured servant who can't really die. It's actually kind of like Mickey 17. Have you guys seen that movie? Just me? Okay. You're sent to these abandoned planets to scavenge for resources, find rare items, and complete contracts for factions, all while fighting off UESC security and other runners. Your ultimate goal is to extract whatever you can carry or die trying, because this is an extraction shooter. And thankfully, because of the huge success of Arc Raiders, I can say extraction shooter and most people will understand what I mean. But in case you don't, here's a quick explanation. An extraction shooter is a PvPvE game where whatever loot you escape with comes with you, and whatever loot you die with, you lose forever. And that includes the weapons you brought in, all healing, everything gone. It's a gameplay loop that has clearly resonated with a lot of people. So, what's different about Marathon? In Marathon, the extraction shooter elements are heavily simplified. While there is a ton of different kinds of loot you can find, they make it very clear which will be needed for upgrades and which are just high value items worth selling. And the game sells all those items the moment you extract, making organization a lot easier. But this game has an insanely fast time to kill, which makes every interaction very high risk. But unlike a game like Arc Raiders, you can be revived even after fully wiping. It just takes a bit longer. But even if you have solid shielding, the enemy runners and even the enemy NPCs can take you down really fast, meaning that you have to play the game more thoughtfully, especially because you have a heat level that can cause overheating when sprinting and sliding and jumping. It's essentially this game's stamina system. What I do like though is that if you're in the rain, you don't heat up as much, so you can just run around a lot more. It's kind of neat. All of this is paired with that signature Bungie gunplay, which feels a lot easier for players to get the hang of, especially because all of the weapons are pretty straightforward and can all do a ton of damage even to higher level opponents. And I personally prefer the way the gunplay feels in this game than a game like Arc Raiders. So this game ends up being a lot more PvP focused, which makes it a hell of a lot scarier and exhilarating. There's various factions that give you tasks to complete in the game, which will help you level up and thus help you become stronger, with the ultimate goal to get strong enough to finally take on bigger and badder NPC bosses. And there's already some mini bosses to fight on the maps, but apparently when the Cryo Archive launches, the main story bosses will arrive. So the game is only going to get more interesting and more clear about the end game goals. But until you get to that point, you're gonna need to level up a ton and get better implants and better cores to upgrade your shell. You can upgrade your heat level to make it so that you don't overheat as much, or upgrade the amount of loot that you can carry, and these are all permanent upgrades for the season, because after every season is over, everyone's progression will be wiped clean, bringing everybody back to the beginning. For some, this might feel kind of grindy, but it should consistently even the playing field and give players seasonal goals. And every cosmetic that you unlock, as well as all of your achievements in the codex, none of that will go away, which will give players a clear long-term goal regardless of when a wipe occurs. And every season they'll introduce new weapons, new maps, and new shells. And that's the real differentiating factor. So let's talk about In this game, you have 6 shells to choose from, which act as your classes. Each shell has a main ability and ultimate ability on cooldown, as well as a passive ability. Some shells have extra abilities because they're just cool like that. Destroyer is this game's interpretation of the UESC security armor from the original Marathon game. He can sprint fast or even do a super dash to shmove around, costing extra heat. His main ability is a mini Brigitte shield to help defend teammates or push enemies. And his ultimate shoots mini rockets at enemies you lock onto. So if you need to clean up hostiles, use the Destroyer. Then you have Vandal, who used to be called Glitch. I kind of missed that name. She's all about speed. Her passive lets her double jump, and she can also super slide. She also comes equipped with a hand cannon that can be used to push enemies back or rocket jump you up. And her ultimate makes her go stupid fast with a much higher maximum heat threshold. So you can jump and slide and get crazy fast kills with her. It's wild. All the movement shooter fans are gonna love her. Recon is this game's blood hunter. She can send out these little bots to find nearby enemies. And when you finish an enemy runner, it will automatically ping their crew, like your Caveira from Rainbow Six. And her ultimate scans for any enemies nearby, which is super broken in an extraction shooter like this. Also, it's so sick. Your whole entire helmet opens up. You look so cool. I like Recon's design a lot. Assassin is the stealthy class. This class can go invisible on cooldown. But if he does anything like shoot or heal, it disrupts the invisibility. And anytime he's in smoke, he'll also be invisible. So you can either use smoke grenades or make smoke with his shadow dive ability, which has you slam down to the ground and create a smoke. And his ultimate smoke screen creates an entire line of smokes, which is incredible for surviving or even exfilling. If I was invisible, I would just kill you where you stand. Triage is the healer class. He comes equipped with 2 healing drones that follow him or his teammates. He can also overcharge his weapons, dealing extra damage at the cost of your heat. And his ultimate can revive teammates instantly, even from their death box from a distance.
Oh my god, it reaches that far?
Yeah, baby, I'm a gamer.
Insane.
And it can also EMP enemies as well, but you're not really using it for that, you know? So if you're traditionally a healer main in these type of games, Triage is your guy. But people will be desperately begging for your healing drone like they're Genji in Overwatch. It's always where the heal bot, not how the heal bot. So just get used to that. Also, side note, I love the name Triage because I've been watching The Pit and now I understand what a triage is, so that's cool. The Thief class is the Loot Goblin. She can literally scan for the best loot in the area and on enemies. Then she can use her grappling hook to get the loot and get out. On top of that, her grapple cooldown gets faster the more loot she has in her backpack. So you're incentivized to get more loot and then just zoom out. Her ultimate is essentially a crypto drone, but instead of scanning enemies, she yoinks loot from enemies, both runners and bots alike. It's so silly. Okay, so that's all the shells. Well, all the shells you can use with teammates. There's one extra shell called Rook. Rook can only be used solo. And while using Rook, you'll always join a match that's in progress, meaning that a lot of the areas you're looking at can already be fully looted. While you're using Rook, you can't finish any contracts from factions. As Rook, you get a random loadout that costs you nothing, but you can't extract with any of the stuff you brought in. So your goal with Rook is to use them to scavenge for items and get out while hopefully not seeing anyone in the process. And Rook's 2 abilities help with that. One ability gives him self-healing, and the other one gives him the ability to disguise himself as an enemy UESC robot, which means the UESC bots won't shoot you. So this, theoretically, should help you escape. And people tend to be friendlier to Rooks.
Yeah, Rook, right here on this,
Wow.
a bunch of loot there. And then in this building to the right of you, there's like 3 dead bodies in there that we got. So there's a bunch of
Oh,
loot there.
damn. You're the first person to not kill me. I've done this 4 times in a row, and I've died every time.
You know, that's how it be sometimes.
But in my experience, nobody really uses the proximity chat feature. It's kinda shoot on sight out here. While every shell can use almost every core, there are some cores specific to individual shells. So if you see a different character's face, don't use it, you noob. And over time, as you level up and complete codex challenges on each shell, you'll get cool cosmetics that make you look a little drippy. All of these shells and all future shells will be 100% free. No extra DLC to pay for. So find the one that fits your playstyle and start exfilling. Okay, so that's Marathon in a little nutshell. But you definitely want to know, is it worth $40? So let's review it with the... This game has so much sauce. Like, my god, this game just looks insanely unique. The art style has this almost polygonal vibe that feels reminiscent of classic video games, with extreme pops of color. It can be a bit jarring at first, but I found myself drawn towards the different environments, the designs of the different weapons, and the designs of the shells. And I'm so glad I waited until after Outpost dropped, which was literally yesterday, to make this video, because that map is sick. Also, the different factions are really distinct, with some incredible designs for their agents, with missions that match their world building and themes. Some focus more on looting, and others killing. Seriously, having a faction that rewards you for PvP is awesome. It makes me actually want to use my high tier items instead of hoarding them, because I just want to fight people and complete these objectives. But I also just want to fight people because the gunplay is really good. I love the way the more ranged weapons like the DMRs and snipers especially feel in this game.
Yep.
I knocked one with the sniper.
Nice.
Oh, I killed him fully. Yo, this sniper is crazy. The Volt weapons gaining a little bit of ammo when you move around, like a hybrid vehicle. That's such a fun little quirk. Sure, some of the weapons can feel a bit overtuned, like the shotguns, but in general, I found the gunplay really satisfying. While I know a lot of people are over the hero shooter genre, I like the way the shells drastically change your experience in game. You can be aggressive or stealthy or campy or just a loot goblin, and they are all viable options that can lead to different levels of success. I also like the way you can use the cores and implants to build out your shell in many different ways. It helps give each shell more depth, and it makes me excited for future shells in future seasons that are all building this world slowly and surely. Also, I know it's not part of the game, but these cinematic trailers are incredible. Don't get me wrong, the story is a little bit convoluted, but very interesting if you actually want to read what these faction agents are yapping about. But most of you noobs are just gonna skip it, like skip. And I like the roadmap they have for the game in general, with all battle passes being anti-FOMO and only the cosmetics costing any actual money. Everything else will be completely free. And I actually don't mind that they're gonna wipe every season. It means that I can take a break from Marathon and come back at a different season without feeling super duper behind. But there are some big issues that I want to discuss, so let's talk about the... Everything looks the same. I feel like Arc Raiders did a slightly better job to make the maps feel very distinct from one another. But in this game, Dire Marsh and Perimeter especially feel a tad samey at a lot of their points of interest. And with the maps feeling smaller, you're at these areas a lot more often. And this can actually make doing missions really frustrating, because sometimes it can be unclear where your mission is. So you end up going in circles, searching the same area over and over again, because you can't tell where you are. Arc Raiders ran into a similar problem where everybody just ended up Googling things when they were lost. And in this game, there can sometimes be a little waypoint that pops up when you're right next to the objective you need to be at, but even that doesn't come up consistently. So please, Bungie, just skip the middleman and ping where I need to go, at least if I'm close to my objective. Like within 20 meters or something. Because if not, it can feel so exhausting to look around like a dweeb forever. It's just tedious. When it comes to the combat, the amount of healing items you can find are pretty scarce, making engagements feel less fun and rewarding. If fights go on too long, you'll kill an enemy but get no healing, and then you'll just end up dying to a bot. I'm glad you can siphon off enemies when you finish them, but I just think there needs to be more ways to get healing or even craft healing, or else triage will become a must pick in most team compositions. And we don't want any must picks out here. And it doesn't help that the time to kill can feel outrageously fast in a bad way, where you just lose not because you did anything wrong, but because you were just seen by the enemy first. You die before you even had a chance to respond. And I do think that is a tough thing to navigate. If you make the time to kill too long, it drags out the match. But if it's too short, it feels badly punishing. Hopefully Bungie can find a solid middle ground here. I feel like these poisonous plants have too much of a radius. I might just be a noob, but I find them stupid and annoying. And in this game, it's just one more thing we have to worry about, and one more item we need to have in the back pocket in case we get poisoned. Also, I find it really frustrating that when you find a weapon that's really kitted, but you don't want that weapon, you just want the scope or the extended mag. There's no way to grab those directly. You have to equip the gun, then detach the piece, then pick up your original weapon. It's so tedious. It seems so easy to fix too. And while some of the cosmetics are cool, most are just glorified recolors. Bungie has come a long way since Halo, where changing your armor colors was always free, to now selling palette swaps. And the crazy part is most people seem okay with that. Modern gaming, I guess. Also, the menu's UI is just bad. It's completely one note, making navigating it difficult on top of it being, at times a bit unclear. The most egregious UI problem has got to be the implants. Tell me which one is which without hovering over them. Oh, what's that? You can't, because it's stupid. Surely this talented art team can make unique designs for each of these, and it would just feel a whole lot better. Which does bring us to the elephant in the room. They plagiarized an artist, who I believe has since been compensated, but either way, it's a dick move, and it has to be acknowledged, at least in some capacity. But I do like the designs, so we can all agree that art is cooked, right? Marathon grew on me. At first, I was writing it off, but as I kept playing it, I found the gameplay loop incredibly enticing. I found myself excited to go and play it again and again. And that's how I felt during the server slam. But I didn't want to give a review on this game purely off of a demo. So I waited till after they finally launched, and my feelings felt the same. I felt really good about it. And a lot of my initial issues I had with the game were addressed. So I feel like Marathon is in good hands. It's an addicting, beautiful, fast-paced extraction shooter made by Bungie. So you know it has polish. And I personally do think it's worth the $40 price tag, even with its issues. So I'll be giving Marathon an 8.5 out of 10. Macro, didn't you give Highguard an 8? Yeah, sorry, I liked Highguard. I also changed it to a 7 in a comment explaining why, but regardless, this game isn't Highguard. It isn't Concord. We need to stop calling games Concords. It's so cringe. Let people enjoy games, and if you don't, then don't play them. I'm personally enjoying Marathon. It doesn't mean that you have to. It's not for everyone. So if you're just gonna leave a hate comment anyway, at least in that comment, can you include a random fruit? That way I know you at least watched the video up to this point and still chose to hate, which at that point I can respect. But if anyone else is leaving random hate comments without a fruit, we know who you are. Anyways, what do you think about Marathon? Have you played it now that it's live or during the server slam? And if so, what would you rate it? And who is your favorite shell? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, if this video pops off, I will consider making individual shells for noobs. So if that's something you'd want, also let me know in the comments down below. Okay guys, I'm going back to cyberspace, so I'll catch you later. Yeah, noob.